William McCray. I'm glad to see, Commissioner Robinson, that you are engaged in the Pell program. I really am skeptical about the city upholding what they're saying they're going to do, because they went back on their word so many times on so many different issues, and it appears that they are sending Stephanie Patterson back to the road. So if they're not going to have a police officer in charge of that program, you can't legislate police officers to pass out teddy bears or be around kids if that's not their calling, if that's not what they want to do. If you order them to do it, they're not going to be effective, and the kids can tell the difference between someone who wants to participate and someone who's ordered to participate. It's not going to work. The funding needs to be there to have a full-time officer there. If not Ms. Patterson, another officer needs to be there full-time. If you're going to spend money on charter schools, you can spend money in our community as well, and that's what needs to be done. So, also, talking about the West Palm Beach Police Department, after I was manhandled and thrown out for exercising my First Amendment rights, I made a complaint on Officer Steinberg, who injured my arm more than it was. The chief sent out an all-user email the next day saying how professional he was and how good he conducted himself handling me. So I made an IA complaint, and he was exonerated. So when citizens make complaints on officers in the West Palm Beach Police Department, they can expect that nothing will be done, unless, of course, there's someone who the chief likes. And it was disgraceful and shameful that the allegations made against Officer Randy Malley, saying that he beat up a prisoner or something. Anyone who knows Officer Malley knows that that's not his character. He wouldn't do that. I don't believe it. There's not a videotape. There's no evidence of it. And then the chief throws a tantrum and complains to the state attorney that he needs to be prosecuted. Well, the chief didn't throw a tantrum when those officers were arrested in Jupiter for felonies, and they weren't prosecuted by the state attorney, and it was downfiled to a misdemeanor, and the charges were eventually gotten rid of. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say we're not going to prosecute officers when they're caught committing felonies, but we want to go after this guy and we think he should be arrested for attempted murder. That is not right. Mr. Scott Lally, who's a white officer, recently promoted to sergeant, but right before he was promoted to sergeant, he responded to a domestic call where a lady said that her husband or ex-boyfriend or somebody was coming to kill her. He didn't write a report, he didn't do his due diligence, and the guy came back and shot her in the head. She was black, so it didn't make the newspaper. About a month prior to that, another black woman was murdered in her apartment on Haverhill. That didn't make the newspaper in the city of West Palm Beach jurisdiction. But nothing was done. This officer was promoted approximately 2 weeks later to sergeant. Had he been black, it never would have happened. He probably would have been arrested for not doing his job. And this is the sort of thing I'm talking about. This is racist, and Ed Mitchell still making $288,000 a year. Why? When the city's failing. Why?
Thank you, Mr. McCray.